course, for most of us, when we hear about Rav Kook, what we most associate his teachings with is the teachings of Torah and Eretz Yisrael, the Torah of the land of Israel, the connection to the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Rav Kook writes about this idea of Torah and Eretz Yisrael. What is the Torah of Eretz Yisrael? And he writes very beautifully and vividly that during the entire time of the dispersion, there are many, many different paths and approaches to Torah that were developed in the various communities of our dispersion. But Torah at Eretz Yisrael, the Jewish people coming home to Eretz Yisrael, represents and really necessitates the reality of the different drachim, the different paths that developed in Chutz La'aretz, finding a way to come together as one, to coalesce and come together as one, what he called Torah at Eretz Yisrael, of putting aside all the divisions between Sephardim and Ashkenazim, between Satmar and Chabad, between the different schools of thought, and really coming together as one and developing what he saw as the future of Torah coming home to its natural habitat, if you will, of Torah at Eretz Yisrael. What's interesting about Rav Kook, which kind of sums this up in terms of how he perceived himself, I think, in terms of the role he played in this movement, is that he did not see himself, as much as he has the title of chief rabbi, he did not see himself as a rebbe or as the leader of a particular movement. And quite the contrary, I think we see in his writings, if I'm not mistaken, even you write about this, that he discouraged that. He really did not want to have followers that became his chassidim, so to speak. I think if you take a look at page 217, I think you talk about that, right?
He talks about it.
Well, I'm saying, but you brought this in.
Yeah.
You want to share these two pieces?
Yeah. Okay, so this is, I kind of did this on purpose. I definitely did it on purpose. These are the last two pieces in the book, in terms of the translations. And I was thinking, how do I want to end the book? And I started finding all these incredible writings where Rav Kook talks about himself. And on the one hand, some of the writings are just, wow, how could this human being exist? He was so optimistic. He just loved every person. So you have the angelic Rav Kook. You really do have this man who, some people say he learned 60 dapim of Gemara a day, which, if you know what a Gemara is, a daf means 2 pages, so he learned 120 pages a day. He would finish the Tanakh every month, Mishnayot every week he would finish. He was an incredible learner, the way he treated human beings. He's an angel. There was a book written a few, maybe 20, 30 years ago by Simcha Raz, Angel Among Men in English. And I met Simcha Raz actually while I was writing this book and asked different questions. And he really was an angel, just a spectacular human being. However, and this is the big however, he also writes about his flaws and his imperfections. And I just told you a story about his daughter. And he writes so many pieces about how he struggles in life. Here, let me read this one, just amazing piece. Yeah, we'll get to the quote. So this is called The Humanized Rav Kook. Whoever said that my soul is torn spoke well. Certainly it is torn. It is impossible for us to imagine a human being whose soul is not torn. Only an inanimate object is whole. A human being is full of opposing desires, an inner war that rages inside constantly. A person's entire struggle is to unify the torn parts of his or her soul through a greater vision that includes everything. Only then will one move toward harmony. Now if you actually look at this piece, the beginning of the piece, he's saying, I'm struggling. I don't know who I am anymore. I have all these wars inside. And by the end of the piece, it seems like he's healed himself. In other words, he feels like he has to work towards positivity. But at the beginning of the piece, and in a lot of the pieces, he tells his reader. And by the way, he wanted to publish this. He tried to publish his writings in his own lifetime, his diaries. And he wanted his readers to really feel like here is a human being who's on the one hand a very inspirational figure, on the other hand a flawed. And he's always telling his students, and he's hinting to them, I'm flawed, I struggle, I get depressed, I'm impractical. He has this one piece where he says, I don't like being a rabbi. And he says, because I have no time for myself. Anybody who has a job that takes, if you're a public figure, you have no time for yourself. Rav Kook Mamash felt guilty for taking time to himself. But he writes a lot about how he wishes he had more time for himself. So that struggle he wants to share with his students. and this relates to what your question was, at the very end of the book, I bring these two pieces where he says he doesn't want people to copy him. So this is one piece. Do not create Kookniks for me. Now, Kooknik from the word cook, right? Cook. Chabadnik, Kooknik. He didn't want Kookniks. Any Jew who is dedicated to helping the Torah and Judaism is one of us. Okay, this is an amazing statement, and he's almost rebelling against his students, trying to make him into a demigod. The next piece is even more powerful. If I wished, I could attract a group of followers to myself who would be considered my Hasidim. He uses the word Hasidim. Who would spread my teachings and thoughts, but I do not want to restrict myself in such a way. I want to connect to the entire Jewish people, and in no way do I desire to be disconnected from any person. This is an amazing piece, and kind of the tragedy of what happened to him is he just got put in one small, tiny fraction of the Jewish people called religious Zionism, and even religious Zionism, not everybody learns him. He really just wanted to be connected to everybody. He wanted the Haredim to learn him. Got all these words and nothing to Rav Kook, but just for our sake, he wanted secular, he wanted, traditional, reform, orthodox. At the beginning of the book, I write how I'm always amazed at how little people have read Rav Kook, like Ilan was saying, and so I'll go on at the beginning of a class, I'll say, how many people have heard the name Rav Kook? And people say, well, yeah, we've heard Rav Kook. How many of you have seen his picture? And some people say yes, some people no. And when I say, how many of you have read a paragraph of his writings, almost nobody puts their hand up. And, people always have excuses. Secular people say, well, he's a rabbi. I'm not going to read religious people. Reform Judaism, I spoke to Reform rabbis, they say, well, he's right-wing. I'm not going to learn a right-wing person. I'll speak to... You just have all these excuses. Hasidim will say he's a misnagid, the misnagid will say he's a chassid. He's too mystical, he's too rational, he's too open-minded. Some people say he's too closed-minded. There's always excuses, and I actually wish Rav Kook would be read by everybody, and we would be able to just free ourselves of the need to say, since he's a religious Zionist, therefore I can't read him, or since he's a religious person, or since he talks about Israel, he's a Zionist. Just read him, just actually let his words affect you, because like we were talking about, he's just so inclusive, and he did not want to, I don't think he wanted to be the head of a religious Zionist movement. Today more and more people, I think, are realizing that, and to people's credit, I think people are realizing and moving past the need to worship him, and they're starting to see him more as a teacher and less as a god.
And to your credit, through this beautiful book, more and more people are going to be able to do just that. Bennett. So thank you.
Thank you very much. A small point of trivia. I'm sure many of you don't know.